I've worked in prisons with criminals where we have done a dance workshop and they said, "What the heck is that?" And they have loved it and they want more. I've worked with young offenders in United Kingdom where the punishment is to dance for 3 months.
Oh, is it?
They hate it. How wonderful. They have done small crimes and they are young offenders, and dance changes their lives. I created a dance piece called Homo, where I am talking very openly about my sexual abuse with all the details, gory details. I took shelter in my mother's arms, and it was called Home, as in home to my mother, rather than homo. Does that make sense?
Very much, a lot of sense.
So it was ho from the home and mo from the mother. So I use quite a lot of nudity within my work. Not because it is vulgar, because it makes sense that we are the naked truth. We sense everything from our body. We sense everything in our spine. We sense everything. If somebody slaps you, you're going to feel it right into your skin. If somebody touches you, you're going to feel it right to your skin. If somebody shouts at you, your skin is going to crawl. And I feel the skin, our body, is so vital, gifted, beautiful piece of instrument God has given to us. Has to be utilized rightly in the art form.
And it's so beautiful to hear that you took her last breath onto stage. And it has probably, how do the participants or the people who are watching react to this?
Who's on air?
Namaskaram. Welcome to Who's on Air. Today we are joined by the incredibly talented Zoobin Surty, a renowned dance artist from Mumbai, India, but now he's down in the UK. A dear friend of mine because I worked along with him for a very, very long time. He's been a teacher for me, and with a postgraduate degree in choreography and extensively trained in Indian classical dance forms, Zoobin has made a significant impact on the world of dance. Let's dive into his inspiring journey and explore the intersection of dance, culture, and community. I'm so grateful to have Zoobin on the show. Zoobin, what inspired you to start Karma Dance, and how do your personal experiences shape your mission?
So Karma Dance is a community interest company where the communities are involved. Communities could be of any age, any color, any creed, doesn't matter. We all are human beings, we all are equal, I believe, and I just think my mother's death and my significant loss of my hearing got me a lot of loneliness. And this is in recent years, of course, but previously, of course, I was teaching and doing loads of work for loads of universities and colleges and students and the communities. But specifically for Karma Dance, it was more about what you sow is what you reap.
Okay.
And I felt that if the loneliness could give me stillness, and stillness is still a movement for me because it has got breath, it has got rhythm. It's just that we don't activate it. And when do we activate that is all assembled or accumulated within our emotions and memories. And I thought if the stillness is really there, what is next in me is my emotions, my memories. And that would allow me to enhance or create or move with a movement which I would call my own. And that movement vocabulary could be from any genre, hybrid, whatever it is. But it kind of allowed me to, my mindset changed, my positivity increased, and I felt energized, more actioned, more vibrant. And I just thought, as much as it's a trauma for me to lose a mother, to lose any parent is a trauma, plus losing my hearing, which is a sensory movement. If I lose my eyesight, I think, how am I supposed to cope with that? Same with my hearing. As much there was silence, there were inner screams which were shouting for something. There was a lot of frustration, desperation of being heard. So, where is that voice? And I found that voice in movement. I found that voice in the dance. I found that voice in exhibiting, demonstrating what comes out of your body. And that was very vital for me, from loneliness to hopefulness. And again, from hopefulness to mindfulness was my sphere, which I made myself to cope with it. And that's when I thought, let me give a birth to something which would allow other people to also find themselves and enhance and optimize the mental health. Who talks about mental health over here in India nowadays? And who doesn't have a mental health issue? We all do, but we never talk because we don't have the opportunity. We do not have the support agencies or supportive organizations. Maybe here and there, which I've heard of, but who really goes out of the way to actually address that? And we don't do that. And I think sometimes communicating, conversing, talking helps. So the company we provide, it allows a lot of talking, communicating, conversing. We've gone to various organizations where people have never danced, they've never moved, they would be scared of the word dance.
Yes.
So we started to subside that word and said we will use the word as movement.
Okay.
Let's keep it happy. And then we try to inject them with various methodologies which allows them to suddenly get off the chair and move. And those things have happened even with the disabled students we have worked with. They have completely enjoyed because they're stuck in a chair, they don't move. The upper body is settled. We try and activate it. The spine needs to lengthen, the skull needs to go up, while our sitting bones need to go be grounded into the floor. So that lengthening, that extension, not just by the body, but the mind also, allows them to be happy with that sort of movement vocabulary, whatever we connect. I believe everybody has a story. Those stories allow us to ignite our feelings, our emotions, and that allows us to voice ourselves. And for me to voice anything like that is through movement and art form. I could be traumatic, I could be depressed, I used to have suicidal thoughts at some point, but I said, no, that is not the answer. There's something inner power, our resilience, which allows us to stand up, fight it. Like somebody just a few minutes ago said that our tribulations is our energy. And that is what it is. I could easily become traumatized or traumatic and say, oh, I cannot do anything next. But I try and use that as a device, as a tool to work towards my art form rather than being depressed, rather than being low, rather than being negative. And I have gone through all that to understand that there is always a pathway which only you can draw for yourself. We don't know the pathway, we draw it, we follow it, we sense it. Our sensory abilities are immense and they are on a way too high realm that we underestimate ourselves because we judge. We judge others, we judge ourselves. Judging is every single moment. I entered the studio, I was judged by 7, 8 people instantly without knowing because they don't know me, I don't know them, which is fine. But we judge all the time. And I think it's a human subconscious stupid mind which allows you to do that.
Yes.
And it is something where we need to succumb a little bit, lessen, to appreciate who is in front of us, who is next to us. And we don't do that. Our gratitude and gratefulness is lessened. And if we could keep that, I think it would be wonderful. Every day, as we say, we get up and we say thank you. We Parsis pray to sun god. We see a sun and I would bow down because that's my normal ritual I have been taught when I was a child. But it has to be meaningful, that you are thankful actually. And I just think gratitude, gratefulness, that we have resilience power in ourselves. The power is in you. People are going to throw many things at you. There are people who would throw for no reason. There are people who would point out the negative in you for their personal insanity. I feel that there are all types of human beings within this world, and we need to accept them as they are. I've worked in prisons with criminals where we have done a dance workshop and they said, "What the heck is that?" And they have loved it and they want more. I've worked with young offenders in United Kingdom where the punishment is to dance for 3 months.
Oh, is it?
They hate it. How wonderful. They have done small crimes and they are young offenders, and dance changes their lives. So it changes the mindset, it changes the mind, it changes the body, it changes the discipline, it changes how people behave. So a combination, I think it's a wonderful collaboration of physical, mental, emotional, social, because you become friends, and of course spiritual. Because you connect. The connection is so important. That when I'm talking to you, I'm looking right to your eyes, I'm connecting with you, and that is vital. If I was looking somewhere else and talking to you, like happens at the airport, I told this girl at the airport, I said, "You're talking to me, why don't you look at me and tell me which gate I should go to?" And she actually, that fraction of a second, she thought about it and she instantly responded, which is lovely. And I think maybe. And then another one who was giving me a boarding pass, she was so bored. And I said, "Could you smile and give it to me?"
And she did.
And then she did. So just little things could change. Little things, whatever we enhance in whatever way to keep the opposite person happy.
Right. So you spoke about stillness. You are into a transformative journey where stillness and movement and now mental health. Dance is a way we're going to help people with focus on mental health to happen, isn't it, Zubin? I mean, where did it start from? Your background in dance, I know you it's almost 3 decades, right?
Don't be silly, I'm not that old. I'm
No, 2
joking.
decades, 3 decades, 1 decade.
Yeah.
So you've been there and you've been doing so many forms of dancing and you're coming into a space which is so much needed, Zubin. So tell me more about it. Like, I think you'll have to go back to your earlier days also.
Yeah. I think I cannot forget my roots. I cannot forget, it's all in my system. I forget how many cities I've traveled, yes, but my journey as a dancer, as an artist, I was doing very well here. I was choreographing Remo Fernandez, Baba Saigal, Alicia Chinay, Sunita Rao, all those wonderful people I was working with. And then I was doing theatre, the musicals, the English theatre. Arshad Varsi was a friend of ours. So it was all such a wonderful journey for me. But I felt something was missing. So if I'm a dancer, if I just go to a show, I'm taught something, I learn, I perform, I get my money, that wasn't me. It was me initially because I wanted to get out and do things and jump on any platform I would get. And that process was important. I'm not regretting that at all. I think something was not sparking me. How do I become a better artist? How do I get in a dance educative program that would make me understand my body, myself, and my soul? And there was this one time switch decision to get out. And I was more inclined to United Kingdom than the Americans. Don't know why, but probably the language, English. And I went to London Contemporary Dance School, and from there I went to Northern School of Contemporary Dance. And I just, in those years, we did not even know what contemporary dance was. Even today, there's so many people who question, what is contemporary dance?
How do you define it right now for the listeners?
Very difficult question. I would say something which comes from your inner self, something which sparks through your emotions. Whatever that movement is the current dance. The current dance is contemporary because it comes from your feelings, it comes from your emotions. As much as Hindi Bollywood movies have meanings, have songs, have lyrics, and which ignite, I have noticed in recent years the authenticity is disappearing. The westernization or the exposing of bodies are more. I'm not against it. It's fine. It's people make their choices. It's absolutely acceptable. But then it also questions me, why did I go to a Western world? What is that attracted me? And I think that no matter what, our skin has the most sensations. Everything enters us through our skin and body. And there is, my recent works of contemporary dance are to do with identity, gender issues, sexualities, also my hearing, which I've lost.
What happened about that? You can continue with their answer.
So also with my hearing, I think that sounds are reduced, sounds are lessened, sounds have disappeared. And when that happens, what does it leave you with is your frustration, is your screams, is you become vulnerable because something is taken away from you. And when you're vulnerable, you either stay vulnerable, you become weaker and weaker, or you find a way. And I believe there's always a way to find a way. Find the findings.
Okay.
And that's important. Find the findings which will allow you to find that pathway to progressively nurture yourself. Because nobody cares for you. You are responsible. You are responsible for your health, what you eat. Like Sadhguru says, do not eat non-vegetarian food because your body is not a cemetery. And I always thought, wow, what a wonderful way to explain that. That we put dead bodies in our system. That's why our bodies react differently. And I think it's such a wonderful way to understand that. It's same way you feed your mind with dirty things. You feed your mind with traumatizing thoughts. People feed you.
Right.
right now you could be feeding me with wonderful, great energy, but when I'll go out, another person would not do the same to me because I'm allowing that person to feed me. Feeding each other, informing each other, exchanging energies is something which I sometimes choose to do. The minute I feel the opposite person is not energizing right things, I very silently walk away. So, very strangely, silence is my power, silence is my tool. I walk away from such things because I cannot change their mind, I cannot change their thinking. This is coming from a very individual identity perspective, because you are different or you are considered as abnormal for being how you are, or your sexuality or your appearance, and I have no problem with that. This is somebody else's thinking. I cannot change it, and I'm not willing to have those abuses or whatever it is. I walk away because I can't change the opposite person. Coming back to identity and the significant hearing, and I also work with topics of domestic violence,
Okay.
because who talks about domestic violence? Because I have seen so many Indian men slapping their wives in front of me. I was in a taxi and I was passing a slum area, and this man was beating his wife on the street mercilessly. And those pictures, I still have them in my system. I have seen domestic violence within my family, within my families, and I just feel, is it necessary? Is it these abuses, physical, mental? When you hurt somebody physically, they're going to be mentally weak, they're going to emotionally be distorted. And I just think it's not needed. And how do we voice that? So I use dance and music. Of course, I work with musicians. I work with tabla artists. I work with sitarists. I work with guitarists. I work with banjo player. I work with loads of musicians, to connect those sounds which brings or represent religions, people coming from different backgrounds. Domestic violence is universal. It's not just in India. It happens everywhere.
Right.
Even wives beat up their husbands.
Right.
I hope you're not the one. But these things do happen. And I personally think that how do we voice that? So when I created my first phase of domestic violence, we did a rape scene,
Okay.
and with my dancers. And when that happened, we took that small stint to show it to communities. So we went into British Asian communities to show it to them. And when that happened, they said, "Oh, we've never seen anything like that." We also involved the Yorkshire police.
Okay.
Yeah, because they have a domestic violence unit. So they also wanted to come and see, and we involved them to see what happens. And then these things could be transcribed into art form to represent and voice these topics. When we took it to Asian communities, these Asian community ladies started talking about their personal experiences with their husbands, that how he slapped him and how he beat her up and what happened and blah, blah, blah. And again, the forceful sex and financial abuse and emotional and physical. It was a very good moment for me, subconsciously, to allow people to voice themselves. So these topics are important to me, where voice is unheard.
So you have kind of brought this into the open in the form of a dance,
Yes,
and people can connect with you on this, right?
very much so.
So that's beautiful. I mean, what you're doing is wonderful. And what are the kind of programs you design for the universities in their holistic dance, which you do otherwise?
For the universities and students, they all are in debts. They all are in, they make these huge fees, and they have to pay the government when they get a job, they have expenses, they have activities, but we specifically go to places or universities where they have no dance. And that is where we challenge these students to come and attend our workshop.
Okay.
So there are times when we have also given a piece of paper and a pen to say, draw the state of your mind,
Okay.
and we see them. And after the workshop, we tell them, draw the state of your mind again.
Zubin,
And you see the difference.
you're a therapist in that way then.
Coincidentally, yes. And it's amazing that how an hour and a half workshop could change the perspective of how we address our lives, our issues, our problems. And who doesn't have problems? But then I don't have all the answers, nor do you. And we just try and find a way to find that pathway for people, help them, support them, communicate with them, arrange, accept where they are, and make them feel inclusive. Inclusivity is so important because it's so easy to say no, you don't come here, or you're not included. While we say no, you are included. And that is the most prime factor for me, that everybody should come, everybody should dance, everybody should talk, everybody should communicate. So yes, we do use such methodologies to see what we can do. And sometimes I would just start with a movement saying, this morning I woke up and I opened the curtain. And that could just say, oh, that is how we open the curtain. Okay, how can we fancify it? Or did we see the sunlight this morning and how we felt? And it could be anything. Shock is something which I work with a lot.
Okay.
Anything that shocks you is important, because when you get a shock, you get right into your solar plexus. You have into your brains to reflect, to react. And those reactions could be a beginning of movement. So really, if you're in a circle today and we start with you and him and him and him and him, it could become 20 movements. And that 20 movements incorporated together, of course, and manipulated by me, would allow that bit to become a dance. So something, again, I don't remember what you did, but I don't remember what the third person did or the 10th person did. But that also allows a mind to be active, to remember each movement, which would eventually become a movement vocabulary which they own. So it's really finding simple methods, memory. I also work with dementia.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's so bizarre that when I was working with a dementia group, they did not remember their names,
Okay.
but they remember the lotus flower. So they remember movement, which is a visual representation, but they did not remember the names. And to see that progressively happening was really optimizing their mind and body to change that perspective that, no matter you don't recognize your son or daughter, but there's something which they remember is the movement. So a wonderful line of research there as well.
So you've been helping people, you're treating people. This comes from a journey within you also. You had some traumatic experiences in your early days. Would you like to relate some of it?
My childhood, I had years of sexual abuse. And I never said a word. Because when you're a child, you don't say. You're not allowed to say. You don't have an avenue to say. You can't talk to your parents about it. You don't talk to your brother, sister about it. So it was embodied by me. It went on for years. And then it continued in the school I went to, in the laboratory, in the library, in the nooks and corners. Then, of course, when you become in the youth days as well, when you question your sexuality, that norm of having a girlfriend, I just did not believe in it because you just don't know till a later age what you exactly want. And I I think that accumulation, the bulliness, the names which were called to me. I created a dance piece called Homo, where I am talking very openly about my sexual abuse with all the details, gory details, which are quite shocking for the audience. And I have a wonderful Chinese dancer with me. She is incredibly beautiful, and she works with me in depth to translate my words into movement. And that whole transition was a great journey for both of us because she had to understand my mind, my body, my soul to actually make it happen. But I also shared where I am sharing that I took shelter in my mother's arms. And it was called home, as in home to my mother, rather than homo. Does that make sense?
Very much, a lot of sense.
So it was ho from the home and mo from the mother. And of course, home to my mother because when she was dying of cancer, I went home to her. And it was the worst journey I've had to see her die. But it was the inspiring journey for me. I made it as a piece of my art. And within the dance, I also show on the screen the last breaths of my mother when she was dying. Because I thought that was important. She is my mother. She is my art. She is my inspiring person. Why wouldn't I not display her? And I wanted people to connect with it, to understand that even though it was that bad or that traumatic, it can still, we all have a resilient power to subside, face, embrace these things. I embraced it with a very open mind. And I just thought, I need to create something out of it. And that is where I created this new dance piece. It was difficult, but it was doable. Because when you read a dance performance which is called Homo, would attract many people in a wrong perception, judgment. We judge. And I think that wasn't the case. It was derived purely from mental health and trauma, purely from that perspective, purely from that essence of life and death. And I think I felt very relieved after doing that. Maybe that was a part of my grieving. I don't know. Maybe it was a part of my progressive journey. Maybe it is a part of my going forward. But I still cherish those moments. So we are doing a tour of Homo in the UK in 2025-26. So hopefully.
Lovely.
God's
So
grace.
this is one of your recent pieces which you have created.
This is my, yes, I created 3 years ago, but it's just something which is progressively. So we're doing Homo Part 1 and Part 2.
Okay.
Maybe I'll talk about Part 2 when I see you next time.
I look forward to that.
But that is what it is.
So you have been addressing mental health. You address this new about using the inspiration of your mom passing away into a form of art. And it's so beautiful to hear that you took her last breath onto stage. And it has probably, how do the participants or the people who are watching react to this? What comes out? Because I would say, I always seen you
Nobody
dancing.
clapped.
The stillness is,
Nobody
you
clapped.
bring in the stillness in them.
And we were not sure of what the reaction would be. So we had uh, some people crying very badly. S- Many people were very silent. There was no clapping, there was no applause. And after reflecting it, I felt that that silence was my applause because it moved them, it shook them, it shocked them. Because I think loads of my UK artist friends who had attended the performance, they didn't know many things about me either. So it was, and couple of my friends, they just left without meeting me after the show. They said we couldn't face you. So I understand that. And we always, of course, signpost that if that has affected you, we have mental health organizations to connect with or
Acha.
get support, of course, because it is triggering, isn't it? It could be
Yes, sir.
triggering to somebody's experiences. It could be triggering to somebody's other memories. So we need to be health and safety wise. We have to be very careful of what we are showing.
In UK,
But we also signpost as much as there's openness and freedom about demonstrating your work. We also have the responsibility of signposting them that if anything of our work affects them, then they can contact mental health organizations. Their numbers, his website, all that is given to the audience. So that information is always given to the audience. Regarding my domestic violence, there was we interviewed a couple of ladies. So we interviewed a British lady and a South Asian lady as well. And there was very strangely, she was saying, kept on saying that all I wanted to know is the real truth within their fight or their violence, which the abuse which she was experiencing. And I believe that when we are removing our clothes, when we dislayer ourselves with emotions, socially, emotionally, physically, we are left with nothing but nude body. And I love, artistically, I love working with nude bodies. So I use quite a lot of nudity within my work. Not because it is vulgar, because it makes sense that we are the naked truth. We sense everything from our body. We sense everything in our spine. We sense everything. If somebody slaps you, you're going to feel it right into your skin. If somebody touches you, you're going to feel it right to your skin. If somebody shouts at you, your skin is going to crawl. And I feel the skin, our body, is so vital, gifted, beautiful piece of instrument God has given to us, has to be utilized rightly in the art form. And that's what I do. That's what I push myself to do. I like challenging my dancers as well. Of course, they are notified prior to that they have to do that, and we're not into vulgarity. We're showing body as a piece of art, how it is lit, how it is shown, why. So all these questions of why are important to me because they are asked by the audience. When we did domestic violence, we also asked the audience, what if you had seen this piece in burqas? What if you had seen this piece in saris? And there was a lot of discussion and feedback. That feedback allows us to further our progress towards our more creation. So how do we influence that? How do I bring Islamic influences within our work? How do I bring Hinduism influences within our work? So I do like to work with Hindu mythology as well. I love the chapter of Draupadi Vrastaharan and how beautifully we could incorporate that within our contemporary dance. These elements of body and soul are vital for me to utilize within my work because that is what a dance is. Dance is a body that moves. The body only moves because it has got emotions and memories. And that becomes your celebration.
You do so many beautiful things, Zubin.
I
What
try.
you do? What kind of dance movements and workshop do you do to promote mental well-being? What is the kind of you have been a super Kathak dancer? You, what is the kind of movements do you teach people when you promote mental health?
Our hands speak a lot.
Hmm.
So I learned British Sign Language.
Okay, you learned that.
Yes, so I'm on level 3 now.
Okay.
So I learned British Sign. I have to learn till level 7 because eventually my communication will be hands. And in which case, I thought British Sign Language and comes with hand movements. So if I have to do KAMLESH, that's Kamlesh. Sorry, I spelled it wrong. But just give you an example that how hands are moving and how our hand gestures could get into different hand gestures. Those gestures can be incorporated into dance. For the deaf community, I do a lot of work, do a lot of movement workshops with British Sign Language inclusivity, where the deaf communities are who are isolated completely. They come to my workshops and they take part in it. And because they've never had that, because you could be partially deaf, you could be fully deaf. So people who are fully deaf, we do workshops with drummers because drums has vibration. So they touch the body of the drummer and they feel the vibration, and that is how they would approach the movement. So different methodologies for different groups work differently because every group maybe have a different need and different approach. Again, as I said, dance can be a scary word. We try and use as much as movement word rather than dance, or let stories become your dance. So we try and incorporate all that in different communities. And we voice a lot of things, and it's something which aimed purely to optimize their mind, body, soul, socially, spiritually, in whichever form they want to accept it. So till now, we've not had any bad feedback. So that tells us that we are making a difference. It tells us that we are supporting. It tells us that we are helping. And guess what? All these workshops for the communities are free.
What are you saying?
We
Yeah?
don't charge them.
So
We charge organizations, we charge colleges, universities, or projects. But for the communities, these are free. Because why not?
that's wonderful. That's a super work you're doing. So give me one or two success stories of the people who participated, or you have some testimonials for that. I mean, can you just relate one story if you have? Somebody who's come back to you and said, "Ki, thank you so much for what you've done." But there might be
We
many.
have had loads of such experiences, fortunately. But there are people who would come and say, "Thank you so much, but can I talk about my abuse to you?" And that is where I feel that somebody wants to open up, somebody wants to talk about something. That is so important, isn't it? When you talk to somebody, you get it off your chest. And when you get it off your chest, you feel, wow, because they are feeling relieved. They have, less burden for themselves. As much as that we are not counseling services, we are using holistic methods and therapeutic methods, but we always, if we feel that if they need more support, then we signpost them. Because I can only do so much legally to help somebody with their mental health. But I'm not a counselor. So if I'm doing anything, I'm doing purely from my experiences, purely from who I am, purely from what I have accumulated within my experiences and life experiences. I think we help as much possible. All our feedback has been always good. There are people who have started voicing themselves and talking about it more openly. So that is something which is good, because as much as it's such a closed topic, we don't want to discuss, people don't want to talk about many things. And we try and break through that barrier. Breaking barriers is something which we work for. We aim at inclusivity. Nobody is not allowed, everybody is allowed. We permit everybody to do whatever they want. Come, talk, communicate, move with us, run out, take our workshop. We support whoever wants that support.
So you have collaborated with people for that? I mean, other than the organization, is
Yes,
there any?
we work with mental health organizations. I've also worked with patients, and it was a wonderful experience to work with them. And it was called Lemon Tree.
And why did that name come across?
Because we were in a studio, and in the corner there was a huge lemon tree,
Okay.
and there were lemons.
Okay.
So I said, oh, can we just take that lemon tree leaves? So we all collected that. It was something, when you go to a workshop, I generally plan that this is what I'm going to do, but I changed it completely impromptu, and I said no. So we took the lemon tree, we crushed the leaves into our hands, we smelt it, and that smell gave them memories, gave them those emotions. Those emotions created the movement in that big circle, and that big circle made a big dance. And it was I can't forget that, because they have never done, they were a very shy group. And to pull them out of the chair to make something like that was very, very, not very easy, but it was still doable. But eventually they all did it. And it was such a great thing to see that. And we encourage LGBTQ communities to also to come and basically take part, participate, talk about anything if they want to. People tell stories. Stories make movements. Depends which communities you're working from.
You take inspirations from a lemon tree. Small things have inspired you to create the stories also, isn't it?
Something very sweetly, because I think lemon, who doesn't use lemon in their life? I remember my mother squeezing lemon on my chicken. And that squeezing movement could become something else and go further and manipulate into something else. So people were starting to remember, and one person said, oh, I hate lemon. So why do you hate lemon? They said, oh, I love the color of it. So if the color, what does the color do to you? Do you feel that you're more greener? Do you feel you're more yellowish? So it was really giving those sort of insights to people to see how we could create something out of nothing. And simple things are effective. The big drama we don't want. So we try and keep it as simple as possible, as easy as possible. Accessible is also one word which I would use, that we allow everybody to access our services.
You are in the UK right now. We need people like you, and you need to do something for this country. So, in a large nation like India, for the rest of the world, what advice would you give individuals, performers, dancers, which they need to incorporate in their acts, and people who are struggling with mental health? Because see, today I think in a place like India, the dancing is very there, because bar the cultural dance is what you learned, Kathak and all that, because you have that experience. But today's dancers have learned some movements. They're not going so profound the way you're going. What is the kind of advice you would like to go?
I think what is lacking is a proper dance educative institute. I hope I'm able to have an ability or a pathway, or where we could actually have a dance institute which allows people to take, like they do commerce and arts, they would go for a dance degree. There is no dance degree here. And I just think probably in Madras they might have a Bharatnatyam and Arangetram and all those kind of things, but something that allows people to embark on that sort of journey to create more creators, create more choreographers, create more directors. And I think as much as it's the absence is there, there's a lot of following rather than leadership. And I think a leader can be a leader and a follower can be a follower, but a follower can also become a leader. And that avenue should be open to people. I think the authentic Kathak, Bharatanatyam, Odissi, Manipuri, all those are only in pockets of India. But within the so-called modern cities like Bombay, Delhi, and I think these things need to exist. And because they have disappeared, people need to take the initiative to put their children in such institutes also. To because Bollywood dance is such a huge umbrella now, where all the styles are mismatched, incorporated beautifully in its own little respective way. I'm not criticizing it, but I think there is a very a fear of losing its authenticity as well of our Indian classical dance forms. I think that Indian classical dance forms was my main foundation. I respect even today that has allowed me to project into other forms. I think the foundation is important, and if the foundation is not there, then your dance life is very short.
So I think what I feel, dancing is a way to express yourself, and it can definitely, if more people start dancing, more people participate, mental health would be better in any country. Is that your opinion?
101%, because if I would get you up right now to move and energize, and you'll have a sweat around your temples, within few minutes you will be listening to your heartbeats into your brain. You will feel energized. Your blood pressure will go fine. You'll feel what has happened to me suddenly that I am feeling so energized. I think it's something. Dancing can tire you, inspire you, or energize you. It's up to an individual how you take it. So when I feel very tired, I feel more inspired to dance. When I feel really shattered, I feel, oh, it's a long day and I have to go to a studio and teach, for example. The meantime I'm in the studio, I'm another person. I love it. I never get tired. Because I'm passionate about it, I feel that I should share my passion, ignite that, celebrate it, collaborate it, keep the creativity, keep the community engaged. And that is all to do with your state of your mind. Your mind tells you to do these things. The mind will inspire you, ignite you, encourage you. Enriching, educating, inspiring. These things are so important.
How do you prioritize your mental health and self care being a busy
Very difficult.
how do you manage yourself as an entrepreneur also now?
Sometimes I feel when I'm at the end of the day, when I come home at 10 o'clock and I feel, oh my God, I've just met so many people today and I've only done is given, not taken. And what is giving and what is taking? If we give and having expectations, that's wrong. Expectations hurt. You give, expect nothing. But then anything is given in return, it's a bonus. It's a mental profit for you. I sometimes feel I feel drained at the end of the day and I feel, wow, I've made a difference. That's important to me. I'll sit with a cup of tea, watch TV or whatever I have to do. But I have enabled myself to find my resilience power, to embrace anything and everything that comes my way. So I find that energy from nobody, but within me. And that keeps me going. Of course, I always keep my mother in me. As I say, my mother resides in me and I reside in her. And that also is very important for me. Our resilience power is just not activated We can activate it at any time, no matter what age, what color, what sexuality, wherever you are in this world. Whether you're a dancer or not a dancer, we all have it. We just need to activate it and find it. There's always, I believe, I can see the danger coming towards me. I embrace it. I love it. The minute you embrace the danger doesn't want to stay with you. A very simple example I'll give you. I was walking on a street in London. A tall black guy I saw who was quite scary and handsome. And I scanned him and I passed by. He came behind me and he said, "What were you looking at?"
He told you. Okay.
So I said, "Oh, I was looking at how wonderful you are or how beautiful you are." I instantly appreciated his existence and his tone completely changed. And he said, "Nobody has said this to me. Thank you." So it's your energy can change somebody else's energy in a fraction of a second. And I have noticed that many times that, oh God, I'm coming across easily this particular person who's going to hit me with some words or whatever. But I approach that in an embracing moment and I make it positive. So I make it positive for myself and for the opposite person, of course. You project that, you get that automatically. You project hatred, you're going to get hatred. Yes, I have projected hatred before. It was a process for me, but I've stopped. I just don't do that anymore. There's no point. It's not going to change anybody. We have to adapt. Adapting in this modern world is a great tool. Accept people. Whoever they are, whatever shape, color, dressing sense, who cares?
Acceptance is the key. I would have asked you one final line, but you already answered that one with saying that incident in London. Acceptance is the key, and Zoobin Surty is the person who is being a transformer, and we look forward to more of you, Zoobin, and that is
I
so
hope
so.
I can transform as many.
But
Thank
it's
you so
good. Yeah, you
much.
are into a space which has probably allowed you to do good things to people. Probably in the UK it is different. We need somebody like you to come to India at least once a year again.
I
And
think I would definitely come to India and I'll definitely run an organization and definitely give supportive agencies to people, especially with mental health and trauma and dance, because I think it's something which is vital, important, necessary. And if life brings me to do that, I'll definitely do that. Because it's not about just serving the UK or US or wherever you go. I try and do that. Even when I was in Thailand, I did that because they had stories every day to tell me. And we would just incorporate that within our work. So, yes, give as much as you want with no expectations.
people like you are going to make this world more inclusive, and that's what we need.
I hope so. Thank you.
Thank you
But
so much.
thank you for having me.
Thank you, Zubin. It's
Thank
such a
you.
pleasure.
No
Thank you
problem.
so much.
Not at all.
God bless, God bless, God bless. Thank
God
you.
bless you too.
Thank you, Zubin, for sharing your remarkable story and insights. And I'm so grateful for you being here. For it's back to the memories what we had. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. If you'd like to learn more about Zubin's work or get in touch with him, please visit his website. I'm going to put the details right on the bottom of the description and on his social media handles. So don't forget to subscribe to Who's on Air for more inspiring conversations with talented individuals from around the world. Until next time, stay connected and keep watching the show Who's on Air.